Okay, this is the VW Jetta MK4 cut video. So you're going to make some rough cuts to get the big stuff out of the way. That's pretty self-explanatory in the manual. What I want to show you are those final detailed cuts before assembly of the car. So let me show you how this works. On the MK4 Jetta, the most important cut is the cut on the roof. The cut on the roof is about 2 inches behind the sunroof, but it's exactly 3 1/4 inches behind this corner. See this corner of the door? You put your ruler up on that corner, right? Mark off 3 1/4 inches to this edge right here. Once you have 3.25 inches from this corner to here, put your ruler on the top of the, a flexible one, put it on top of the car, and scribe off your line 3.25 inches behind the front door top corner. Once you have that line, that's your finished cut. And you're going to go all the way through all the sheets of metal. So show this in here, Tim. You're going to have this underneath. So this is it's a pretty lightweight B-pillar on the Jetta. And you're going to cut through all of this. This particular car has the sunroof sticking out a little bit. You can go right through the sunroof, left to right. You don't need to have anything sticking out. What you do need to have sticking out is 2 inches of your headliner backing board. So if you zoom in, Tim, this is the backing board, and then there's a fabric on the other side. You want 2 inches of the backing board sticking out, and then you want an additional 3/4 of an inch of the fabric material so that you can wrap it over the edge. If you see this car right here, this is a clean cut at 2 inches. I have a little piece of black tape that I'm going to put over this. This is one of the early cars. What I've learned since is 2 inches of backboard, this hard stuff, add 3/4 of an inch of the soft fabric, and then when you're done, just fold it right over. So this is your top cut, the most important one on the car. When you begin to install your pieces, your aluminum brace is going to rivet right here. So there's no cutting all through here. This is all just regular Jetta door opening from the rear door. This is your edge where the weather strip was on the Jetta. So this weather strip edge, if you'll look here, this is where we're going to be riveting that outer C-pillar brace. And so what I do is I measure 11 inches from the very bottom here, and that is the top of this fender wheel well. For 11 inches from there to the top of this outer sheet metal, and then I trim down at an angle all the way to the floor. Zoom in over here, Tim. We're going to use this surface to bond the fiberglass, and we go all the way. This one's about 1/4 of an inch from the floor. Just follow your, this is about 4 inches here where my fingers are. We use this surface right here to bond the fiberglass quarter panel onto the car. So basically you're just removing all this material. If you look closely here, you'll see a bunch of black goop that's left behind here. The gas cap is bonded, so this outer skin right here of metal on the Jetta is bonded with a thermal tarry adhesive. So all you do is take a heat gun to the outside of the car, and this whole piece peels right off, and then you don't have to cut anything away. This is as it is when you peel away that part. And if I showed you what it looked like, it would just be a mangled piece of sheet metal that I pulled off of this corner. So from this corner here, also take a look at the inner structure. And zoom in, Tim. We've been talking about the outer sheet metal. This inner structure is the main part of the Jetta that we use for structure and support. So we go right here, 11 inches, to the outer sheet metal. I leave an extra inch on the inner piece here. This is the inner flat wall. I leave about an inch higher than this 11, so 12 inches to the top of the inner piece. Leave this little bit of flange here if you wish. That gives you an idea of what 12 inches is. And the only reason I leave this is because you can rivet this to the aluminum later if you wish. Inner structure right here, as we walk around slowly, you'll see down here we remove it all the way to this flange. We use this flange right here. So this is the mounting flange that the aluminum bedside is going to rivet to. So this little, it's about a 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch flange all the way from the back edge. This flange goes up, it comes over the wheel well, and all these are your radio and all your wires. I left in place because this is exactly what they're like on the Jetta. This flange, come around my other side here, Tim. This is the money flange right here. So you want, at all costs, this flat surface you want intact all the way forward. Now this is as it came out of the Jetta. There's nothing welded here, there's nothing in the way, so this is how it naturally is. When you get forward, you're going to want a little bit of a space between this little area that used to be the back of the seat. So this is the where the rear seats were, leaning up against. You can see where I cut the cross support. So this cross support came up and went all the way across that way. You can see the little hook where the rear seats would hook. This gap here is what you want. You want a good 1/4 inch. Some of the cars that I've seen have this gap very tight. And you can zoom in here. This bracket assembly, this little gap here on some cars, for whatever reason, is so tight you can't even get the aluminum. The aluminum is going to be placed on the inside surface here. So make sure there's enough room for that whole CNC piece to push down. As the aluminum goes forward, it separates from the seam, so it's much less important down there. But this is your final cut on both the left and the right side. This is what you should be left with. I think when I go to assemble this and I put the wheel well on here, I'll probably dent this in about a 1/4 inch to make sure. See how it kind of flares in? I think I'll have to dent that in a little bit, but you get the idea. Here's your rear cut. And the important thing on the rear cut, so we're on the bottom of the floor here. There's a little drain here. I get rid of these drains so that water can freely escape. We go just over the bumper. This is a regular Jetta sedan we're talking about. See this, the bolts where the rear bumper attach? These are double. You can almost zoom down on this, Tim, from the top. This is a double layer, piece of steel that is a bumper support. I leave all this, I left it a little high just because it's easier to see it this way with the 2 layers. But basically, you're just going to follow this line here. You're going to follow this all the way across. See this curve? I left it about 3/4 inch high here. Really, just follow that curve all the way across. This goes all the way. I mean, there's really not much to it. You're just following this line all the way across. Dip down. Continue to go. You're above the structural point where the rear bumper mounts. That's the key. And then as you get to the outside here, you're going to come down to the floor again. And then on the other side, it's the exact same thing, except there's no fuel cap in the way. Let me go over here. So on this side, it's a little simpler. There's no fuel cap inner structure. So all you have is the inner flange. You have all of your wiring runs in this channel. Take a look at this channel. It's about a 3-inch wide channel here. That's where all the wiring goes. Your aluminum is going to be mounted to this flange again. This is your money flange. Follow this one forward. This is where your aluminum is going to mount. But all this wiring can stay to the outside of the aluminum and then go across under the rear bumper. Same thing here on this side. If you come around, Tim, I'll move this out of the way so you can see. We're trimming along the floor. Get rid of this drain. There's a little rubber grommet right here on the inside. You get rid of that drain. And you can see this is where the old bumper cover was. So this line right here, it's about 4 inches like I wrote here. And remember, this can be banged up. We're using adhesive on this surface right here. So we're going to rough this up with 36 grit. We're going to put adhesive on here when we mount the final quarter panel. Until then, you can see this is a freehand cut. There's no set rules here. I leave a little bit of material for bracing. It's very thin, so it's really not doing a lot structure-wise. But for mounting the body, it's terrific. This nice band of adhesive really locks in that body. 11 inches from the top arc of the wheel well to this top point here is 11 inches. Add 1 inch for the inner wall here, and I'll show you on the other side why I leave this inner wall. So that extra inch allows me to keep the factory grounds connected. So this is a factory ground post. And these are just factory welded wiring. There you go. You can see these are just factory studs that are welded on there. They make a great ground. Why not leave them, right? If you cut this off by accident, no big deal. Put a bolt through here, call it a day. Put these down here. Not a big deal. I just like to leave all the factory stuff I can. So this surface right here is 1 inch higher than the 11 inches here. You're trimming away all of the outside. And then as we go forward, nothing's trimmed here except at this area of the rear seat. And that is all of the trimming for the Mark IV Jetta.